flexor muscle. And basically under stress, it starts to tighten up. And I stuttered from the time I was in 3rd grade, the time I was in 7th grade, white blotches on my skin. I was a nutcase. And so the insides of me are also getting fucked up. So in this process, my psoas muscle got real tight to my T12. I can show you the bump on the back of my head after this show's over, but I started growing this fucking like large tumor looking bump on the back of my head from my body compressing. So I'm 6'1", but my muscles were like 5'9", because I just started the muscle tightness from my psoas going to my T12. I was just getting tighter, my quads, everything getting tired from just stress in my life. So the more I stressed my body with the workouts, my lower body became out of balance. So I had a bunch of stress fractures, a bunch of injuries going through buds. And how I got through buds was they gave me my 3rd time, was my last time going through Hell Week. I basically put a black sock on at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I would get duct taped. I had numerous stress fractures on both of my legs because my body was literally like coming in on itself. And my legs were like, I was pronating it really bad and putting stress on my shins. And so I would put duct tape. I would duct tape my feet, and I would show you the top of them where I have pressure ulcers that were the size of quarters from, you know, how the ankle joint, so the foot goes to the shin, and how you move this, where the tape was so tight, it just created a nice ulcer right there. And I just kept going through it.
So you just use that tape to just support your ankles?
Right. So I basically cast myself, and for the first 30, 45 minutes, the pain was excruciating, but then it would go numb. And whoa. I would go numb, and then that's how I got through.
Wow. Did that do any long-term damage?
Yeah, I've been out for 5 years. So I retired I did 21 years in the military. I did time in the Air Force, and I did about 16 years in the Navy.
How old are you?
43. So
you look like you're 30.
That's good. That's good.
You look very young for your age.
Whenever I'm stressed, I get after it. I fix whatever's bothering me. So I basically, over the last 5 years, everything I've done in my life, I did it being very unhealthy. I'd never talked about it. I just kept going. And it cost me pretty much, I was choking my insides out. Adrenal issues, tons of adrenal issues, thyroid issues, anything with the endocrine system pretty much shut down on me. My organs were pretty much shutting down. And I went from a guy who could run 205 miles to a guy who couldn't get out of bed. And the doctors were trying to search what was wrong. That's why I figured out the psoas muscle. No one figured it out. And I hit it by accident. So I've missed 2 days of stretching out in 5 years. And so what happened was all the shit I did to myself, the stress I was under, physical, mental, all kind of shit, it just choked me out from the inside. And doctors put me on all kind of medication. And the medication started doing the exact opposite of
what kind of shit?
I was on DHEA. I was on some different things for my estrogen, different things for my, I was on anything to do with like with your endocrine system. Thyroid medicine, good God, I was on cortisol, all kind of shit to get my stuff. I had like this lump in my throat from like the heart was always, I couldn't run down the street. My body was just jacked up. Couldn't sleep. My whole body was just down, shutting down. I could give you a lot more than that, but just to give you an example, I was fucking dying. And so I couldn't do anything. I went from a guy who was this guy to a guy who can't do shit. And doctor's like, I don't know what's wrong with you, man. You know, your labs are this. Is it PTSD? Is it what's going on? I knew it wasn't any of that shit. So I sat in the bed one day and I realized, man, my life is over. This is it. But it gave me time to reflect on everything I had accomplished. 'Cause I'd never taken time to reflect on the kid I was to the man I am now. So honestly, the time I wasn't working out, it was the best time of my life because I got a chance to really reflect back and be proud of who I became. 'Cause I never took time to do that. It was like one after another. Get the fuck after it. Get after it. Get after it. You ain't good enough, motherfucker. Get after it. Get after it. And I got halted. So anyway, this process went on for a while. More medication. This isn't working. That's not working. No doctor can figure it out. I'm like, fuck it. I saw this doc about 8 years before this happened. And he was like, hey, man, you're so fucking tight. I've never seen anybody in my life as tight as you. You need 50,000 hours of stretching. He threw out some crazy number. I was like, whatever. Stretching, you know, stretching's bad for you. So
you thought stretching was bad for you?
Yeah, stretching's bad for you, man.
Why did you think that?
I read some article, man, fuck stretching, man. You know, I worked out so hard, I didn't have time to stretch, man. I was running 150 miles a week. I was biking to work, man. I was getting after it, man. I was working a full-time job. And stretching, I ain't doing that. So my body was literally getting tighter and tighter, not just from what I was doing. Everybody thinks, oh, because you ran this. No, it wasn't that, man. And so I said, no, I'm going to try to stretch out. So I don't do anything for like 10 minutes or, you know, I don't do no 6-minute abs bullshit. So I started stretching out 1 hour, hour and a half. Long story short, man, I shaved my head almost every morning. And that bump that was on the back of my fucking head, I started realizing it was shrinking for some fucking reason. I don't know why, because I shaved my head back and I was like, it's getting smaller. Smaller that bump got, healthier I got. Smaller that bump got, I was like, oh, hold up, motherfucker. What's going on? That psoas muscle started getting more and more stressed out, more and more relaxed. And over a period of 5 years, I'm in the best shape of my damn life right now from stretching out.
Wow.
That's all it was. I went from like, I can't even count the medications I was on. Now I'm on a very low dose thyroid pill, period.
Do you ever do yoga?
All the time, man. All the time. And I if I were to tell somebody one thing right now, man, that psoas muscle and getting that hip flexor opened up, because we're all stressed the fuck out. It's much worse than others. It changed my life.
Yeah. How do you say Nick Gregorius? How do you say his last name? The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt from England, the Greek fellow. He has a great quote about yoga. He said, yoga is a martial art you do against yourself.
Yep.
It's a great way of putting it.
100%.
That's what it feels like when you're in there, right?
100%.
And so how many years ago was this? It was 5 years ago
5
where
years
you couldn't
ago.
do anything? And how long was there a period where you couldn't work out at all?
There was so I always tried to do something, but I couldn't run hardly at all. I could run maybe half a mile and all that heart shit would happen and my heart would get AFib and all kinds of stuff would happen. And I started just stretching, and also I tried to do pull-ups every now and then, but everything was just, I didn't have the energy. I didn't have anything. I mean, nothing was processing right for me.
So did you think that you had just broken your body because you pushed it too hard?
100%. I sat back in that bed that night, and I had a lot of time to reflect. I said, you know what? I was actually kind of proud of myself. And very sick, twisted way. I even though people don't understand it, I had to do what I had to do. And, you know, and I did it. Like, I didn't tell you how I got into ultra running. You know, there's a lot of things that, so I pushed it extremely hard. I went way beyond what I thought was capable. Like my first ultra race I did, I was heavier. I was in Iraq, you know, the Marcus Luttrell lone survivor. I was in Buds. I was in 3 hell weeks, as you know, as I said a million times. And I knew a lot of guys that died in the operation. I was at free fall school with Morgan Luttrell, who was his twin brother, during the Operation Red Wings, where Marcus Luttrell was the only survivor. I knew Marcus Luttrell well, and I was about 200 some odd pounds, and I didn't run hardly at all at this time. I was a SEAL, but I was like a bodybuilder. And I did elliptical trainer 20 minutes on Sunday. That's all I did. That's all I did. Fuck that cardio stuff. I was never about it until this happened. So that happened, and I was like, man, I got to find a way to raise money. for these families. So I Googled I found a foundation, the Special Operations Warrior Foundation, and I Googled the 10 hardest races in the world. I knew nothing about ultra running. The first I'd ever run was 20 miles at one time. And so what came up was the Badwater 135. 135-mile run through Death Valley in the summertime. I thought it was a fucking stage race. I didn't know people can run 135 miles at one time. I had no idea it was even possible.
What do you mean a stage race?
Where you run like 20 miles, camp out,
stages.
And then run 20 more till you get 135 miles.
Right.
So I went to ultra runner, didn't know what ultra runner was. I called the race director up, Chris Kosman of the Badwater, and he said, "Are you an ultra runner?" And I was like, "I don't know what that is." He goes, "Have you run 100 miles in 24 hours or less?" I was like, "No." But I said, "I'm a Navy SEAL. I was in 3 Hell Weeks. I was a Ranger." I gave him some resume. He didn't give a shit. He said, "I don't care. You got to qualify for my race." And the deadline was up in 2 months for this Badwater race. And basically, he said, "There's 2 more races you can do to qualify. And I might consider you in my race. We select top 90 athletes in the world. And you're not even an ultra runner. But I like your cause, like what you're doing." He said, "I'll call him up on a Wednesday." And he goes, "There's a race on Saturday in San Diego one day, where you run around a 1-mile track for 24 hours. So many miles you can get. If you get 100 in 24 hours, I will consider you in my race." I did the math. It's 14 minute mile, fuck it, I can do that. Dumb shit thinking, I'll tell you that right now. It was rough. Worst pain I've been in my entire life was this race. So I have my wife at the time, she's now my ex-wife. We go to Walmart, get a blue lawn chair, Ritz crackers, and Mileplex. That's what I'm gonna have for a 100-mile run. So, show up at the start line of this race. It was the AUA National Championships. It's like the best ultra runners compete against each other to see how many miles you can get in 24 hours. And I'm this big bodybuilder looking guy with his shirt off.
How much did you weigh back then?
I would say I was at least 230. At least it may have been more.
And jacked.
Yeah, I was ripped the fuck up. I big old chest. I was jacked up. There's a picture of me.
You definitely didn't look like someone who could run 100 miles.
No, not at all. So basically, I start running, and I get to about mile 40, mile 50, and I'm feeling pretty good. I get to mile 70, and it was the worst pain of my life. I sat down in this blue lawn chair at mile 70, and the Ritz crackers after mile 20 became Ritz cracker balls. I wasn't hydrating correctly. I didn't know what to do. I was drinking Mileplex for my nutrition because I couldn't eat these Ritz crackers. Had very minimal water, if any at all, and I was just dying. So I sat down in this blue lawn chair as I was watching all these runners go around in this circle. I was all dizzy and lightheaded. Hadn't gone to the bathroom. It's been about 12 hours. I went 70 miles in about 12 hours, which is good. And I looked at my ex-wife now, and I was like, I am fucked. And I started seeing like 3 of her. And once my body stopped, my mind just went off. And I had to go to the bathroom. And the bathroom was like 20 feet away from me, if that. And I couldn't. And so I sat there and peed blood down my leg and started crapping up my back, and with 30 miles to go. And my feet were broken. I was just in the worst shape. Because once you stop running, not running like that, I mean, I hadn't run in almost a year. I was just doing bodybuilding stuff in 20 minutes on the elliptical trainer.
No running at all.
I probably ran no more than 50 miles the whole year. That wasn't my thing. I wanted to be like jacked. You know,
Right.
I didn't want to be cardio guy. I wanted to be ripped, big Navy SEAL guy. And the day before this race, it's funny, this guy named Joe Burns, who put me through my Hell Weeks, a SEAL guy, he's one of the hardest guys out there. He was in the gym the Friday before I did this race, and he was doing a full body squats, deadlifts, power cleans. I said, fuck it, man. You know, he's the guy that approved me to do this race. he gave me the approval to go do this race and signed off on it.